نحن اليوم نتطلع إلى أن نسمع من المتحدثين. فالمداخلة الأولى الدكتورة سفيتلانا، خبيرة اقتصاد زراعي رئيسي في البنك. You have the floor, and as we said in the beginning, because her presentation will be in English. There is a spontaneous translation available in Arabic and English available. So the floor is yours. You have 7 minutes, maximum 10 minutes. So you have the floor. Yes, feel free whatever you want.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. It's a true pleasure to be here with you. I'm Sfetlana Edmediz, lead agricultural economist. And how do I change the slides? Okay, I wanted this to be a conversation on our side. At the World Bank, we care a lot about smallholders. This is really our focus of work in the agriculture and food global practice. The questions we're asking are the same as the ones that you have been talking about this morning. How do we transform our food system that is able to respond to different shocks, not only climate shocks, but also price shocks? We are very much committed to the adoption of climate-smart agriculture as one way forward. And you just mentioned insurance. There are different instruments as part of the climate-smart agriculture package that we're exploring for different countries. The question also is how this transformation of the food system is going to be financed. What is the role of the public sector and what is the role of the private sector? Green? This one? Okay. Thank you so much. It's critical what financial instruments are available such that smallholders can actually utilize them effectively. There is a lot of conversation of climate finance on financial instruments, but when we get down to the smallholders questions, it becomes very challenging to make those effective. The World Bank continues committed to the joint work on implementation of the climate action for agriculture and food security, which has a renewed interest for the COP28 now that UAE is preparing to host kindly the COP. When we talk about implementation, and thinking about smallholder farmers facing climate change, a lot is still needed, as you mentioned. So what I wanted to share with you is what we do and how we do it. There is no one-fit-all solution. As you know, we need to customize the responses. And to do this, we need greater knowledge. We need to understand the challenges and the opportunities in each country context. So I wanted to talk to you about the analytical underpinnings of our engagement in the Middle East and North Africa, the projects that we are working on, and some final reflections. For the analytical work, we do our work at the global level. We look at the big messages and the more regional specific messages, and then we go specific to the country to better understand what solutions can be provided to each context. At the global level, currently, the World Bank is preparing a document that's called Recipe for a Livable Planet, which should be available by the end of this year. Some of the key messages that are emerging are that middle-income countries are generating the majority of the agri-food system emissions, and they're also critical for the global effort to transform the agri-food system. While low-income countries, while adaptation is critical for their climate-smart development, mitigation efforts provide them unique opportunities for access to climate finance. So this is something that we're trying to explore much further, how through mitigation we can also link opportunities to climate finance. Then at the regional level, we recently completed the study You talked about food security. Food security is multidimensional. Solutions have to be multidimensional as well. And this study, for example, was looking at the linkages between high food prices and food security in the region, and what are the impacts to malnutrition in the region. One of the speakers mentioned this earlier. There are devastating effects on malnutrition in the region, on poverty. And by us working on food security, we need to not only think about the climate shocks, but we also need to think about the price shocks that challenge, if you like, the integrity of the agri-food system. And then at the country level, we develop, this is now a World Bank sort of corporate priority, to develop the country climate and development reports. These are core diagnostic reports that integrate climate change and development. We no longer speak of climate change by itself. Climate change is an integral part of development solutions and vice versa. And these are built on very rigorous research for each country. In the region, in the Middle Eastern and North Africa region, we have these reports public for Jordan, Iraq, Egypt, and Morocco. They are basically public documents and inform government, citizens, and private sector. All stakeholders have participated in their development. As one example, the country CCDR, we call them the CCDR for Jordan. The main messages there are climate change is adding to Jordan's development challenges, particularly water scarcity. Many of you mentioned water scarcity, soil erosion, heat waves. The second message is act now to use resources more efficiently and improve long-term outcomes. And number 3 is develop innovative financing solutions to address adaptation and mitigation costs. These messages are built on the basis of specific analysis of the impacts, and then the different basically calculations that these impacts basically contribute to the economy, both positively and negatively, what needs to change, and specific financial needs to address them. So each country has this report developed, and this is in a sense our baseline on which we start building our projects. For some countries like Iraq, for example, we are also working on a climate smart agriculture action plan. What are the specific actions that you need to take in order to achieve specific goals that you have formulated? In terms of project work, so we use all the analytical underpinnings that I mentioned to build specific projects. Each country is different from the other. Challenges may be similar, but institutional, social, economic settings are different. So we need to customize our project interventions in a way that they can deliver. In Morocco, for example, we are using lending instruments and technical assistance to work on climate smart agriculture, focusing on irrigation, climate smart agriculture for rain-fed areas, also the insurance system, working on reforming the insurance system. How do you include smallholders into value chains? We call this approach productive alliances. It's critical to work on the certification and the innovation in agri-processing. So it's basically, in Morocco, we're doing our interventions are across the agri-food value chain. And there are many objectives that we have set forth to achieve, such as strengthen food security, include resilience, provide jobs for youth, for women, shorten value chains, include quality. So we develop this for each country as the country requests. We work very closely with our stakeholders. The project in Jordan that we have, it's called RD, and it's a different instrument where the focus is on the results. We are supporting an existing program, the National Sustainable Agriculture Plan. There are specific results that need to be achieved, and the World Bank provides support to achieving these results. So you start from the challenges. This is the logical framework. The challenges, and then what result areas do you need to focus on, and what is the outcome that you need to achieve. And then in each result area, we look at specific targets, and we support the government and on achieving these targets. In Yemen, in a country where conflict and fragility are dominant, we are focusing on the public goods, supporting community-based infrastructure, supporting seed production and distribution, and animal health in order to achieve the broader outcomes for agricultural productivity. So thinking forward, it's important to think about the policies that support the transition to climate-smart agriculture. Previous speaker mentioned that policies are truly critical. We find that there is misalignment among food policies, agricultural and water policies in many countries. They have different objectives, and at the end, we're talking about the same results and outcomes. So alignment of these policies is critical. The importance of innovation is also critical, and there are specific roles for public and private sector in delivering on it that need to be very well defined. Regional cooperation is also very important in terms of technology transfer and innovation. The seed system, the seeds in Egypt that we have heard about, I'm based myself in Egypt, can be used in many other parts of the region. And the importance of investing in adaptation. Adaptation is very much underinvested. It's very difficult to measure, yet it's very important, and it takes longer to achieve the outcomes of adaptation. So that's something, a challenge, if you like, to the climate finance framework that we are all looking into. And this is my last slide. I hope I'm within the 10 minutes. Some entry points that are critical. I mentioned the transformation of the food system at the beginning that I'm sure will be very much discussed during COP28. The financing is estimated to be about 350 billion a year for the next 10 years. This is a lot of money. So what can we do to make it possible? One critical element is getting the incentives right. We need to realign and redirect policies and public expenditures. There's a lot of public spending that is misused, and we need to redirect it to create proper incentives and deliver on the triple win on productivity, adaptation and mitigation for healthy people, planet, and the economy. The World Bank is doing extensive work on what we call the repurposing agenda. We are very happy to also engage here on that work. Another critical point is to enable the private sector. The private sector is critical for the transformation, for food system transformation. Scaling up private sector investment in agriculture is very important. Improving the quality of private sector investment is also very important, but what's really critical is the de-risking. The de-risking so that this financing can actually reach the smallholders. This is absolutely necessary. It can be done through specific financial instruments. Insurance can support this cause as well. But without de-risking, in which the public sector has a role, it's going to be very difficult for private sector to reach the small producers. And then scaling up climate financing to agriculture and food. Sadly, agriculture and food right now only receive 4.3% of global climate financing. There is a huge opportunity there to finance not only the sector, but the key actors of that sector, the majority of whom are smallholders. And for this, coordination is critical. Coordination not only among the institutions in each country, but coordination among donors it's extremely vital, if you like, to achieve the impact of transformation of the food system. And with this, I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here and for inviting me to participate. Thank you.